students. We are up for the third class for the chapter Control and Coordination, and that is what we are going to start with today. Up till now, we have discussed about the nervous system, we have discussed about brain, about spinal cord and their protection. So, for today's class, we are to discuss the topic plants. How control and coordination here occurs in plants. So, chapter name first, control and coordination, and today we are going to discuss about control and coordination in plants. तो plants में कैसे होता है? Plants में the mode of coordination is actually electrochemical in nature. Electrochemical means it is taking place via electrical signals too, it's taking place via chemical signals too. So it's actually a combined mode of transmission of impulses in plants. That is, it takes place via electrical signals too and via chemical signals too. How does it occur in plants? Like, how does information pass on probably from one cell to the adjacent cell? If I draw 3 cells of plants for you, how will information go from this cell to the next and from this cell to the next and so forth? So क्या होता है? Plants change the amount of water in their cells. ठीक है? This is how they actually communicate. जैसे कि suppose the water content of this cell is gonna reduce and it's gonna pass it on to the next cell. Then in this cell is gonna reduce and it's gonna pass it on to the next cell. So they communicate by changing the amount of water that is found inside the cells. This is how they actually work, by changing the amount of water in the cells. Now you might have seen how plants respond sometimes. For example, when you talk about a plant, mimosa. What's Mimosa pudica? Have been studying this since our junior classes. It's the touch me not plant. Touch me not plant. How does it work? If you go close to it, you touch its leaf, it's going to pull it back. What is that? That is a stimulus and response theory. Stimulus क्या है? It is anything which evokes the response. ठीक है? And what's the response? It's your reply to the stimulus. So in the case of a touch me not plant, your touch becomes the stimulus and the folding of the leaf becomes the response. So what do the plants do? They show a stimulus response kind of a relation. Okay, that is how they operate. They show responses to a number of abiotic factors now, and we're going to study some of these movements. Before that, I have to teach you to differentiate between two words. What are tropic movements and what are nastic movements? What's in your syllabus is tropic movements, so we're going to focus on this, but it's basic kind of to know the single point difference between these movements. You have to study just 1 point difference here. What are tropic movements? Now, tropic movements are those in which the direction is considered. Movements in which direction of movement is considered. So we have to see कि direction किस तरफ हो रही है. What is the direction of movement जिसमें हमें ये हिलते हुए जो है that is नज़र आना चाहिए. ठीक है. On the other hand, nastic movements के केस में direction is not considered. They can show movement in any direction and we don't have to pay attention to it. Okay. So that is where it becomes a nastic movement, but we have to focus only on tropic movements for your syllabi. Okay. First, we will study movement in response to water. That is, we are going to study hydrotropism. Hydro means water. So we are studying movement in response to water. Simple plant, shoot system, root system. यहाँ है सारा पानी in the soil. Here's all of the water. Now, your roots are growing towards water. Your shoot is growing away from water. So your root is known to be positively hydrotropic. Your shoot is known to be negatively hydrotropic. वो पानी की तरफ जा रहा है, वो पानी से दूर जा रहा है. Hence the words positive and negative. Hydrotropism is simple movement towards water. Then, next, let's do a complex one first. We have chemotropism. This stands for chemicals. Chemicals की तरफ movement. सबसे common example of chemotropism we have done in the first chapter, life processes. What is this? This is a pistil, simple pistil. There's a pollen grain which is deposited here, and here you have your ovule. So what happens? Your pollen tube comes out, it grows, and it tries to reach to your ovule. Why? Because there are some chemicals secreted by the ovule which try to attract the pollen grain towards itself. This kind of a movement is known as chemotropism. It's positively chemotropic because it's showing movement towards secreted chemicals. So this becomes probably one of the only examples that you have to study for chemotropism. Next, we have phototropism. Photo stands for light. Simple light की तरफ movement देखनी. Here is the sun. Here's your plant, shoot system, root system. Your shoot is growing towards the sun. Your root is growing away from the sun. Your shoot becomes positively phototropic. Your root becomes negatively phototropic. Simple example, very basic. Let's do one more. Geotropism. Geo means towards gravity. So we have to talk about gravity की तरफ movement now. Simple plant again. Root system. Gravity नीचे act करती है, roots भी नीचे grow कर रही है, but shoots ऊपर grow कर रही है. So your shoot becomes negatively geotropic. Your root becomes positively geotropic. I hope this simple explanation was enough to make you understand the concept of tropic movements. Now this is actually pretty basic. It's not a very complicated topic. Now we are to study communication in plants occurring with the help of hormones. Definition of hormones. What are hormones? They are chemical messengers which help in coordination inside the bodies of organisms. Okay, so they help in coordination and they act as chemical messengers. We have to study 3 to 4 basic hormones for plants. NCERT mentions only probably 3. NCERT mentions, we'll try to do more. But we have to do very less. We have to do only basic features. First hormone is auxin. Auxin, let's study about what functions are brought about by auxin. So auxin brings about growth. Which kind of growth? It's largely apical growth. Apical growth क्या होती है? It's the growth which is occurring at the apex. यहाँ at the apex, at the tip of a plant. So जितनी भी tip की growth होती है, it's all mediated with the help of auxin. Auxin is the one which controls apical growth in plants. Then A hormone which is not mentioned in NCRT is gibberellin. Gibberellin controls growth too, but what kind of growth? Gibberellin controls internodal growth. What does an internode imply? For example, you have a stem, okay? You have a leaf coming out from this point, and you have a leaf coming out from this point. So the points from which leaves comes out is known as a node. And the distance between two nodes is known as the internode. ये जो internode की growth है, this is mediated by gibberellin. कि ये जो बीच का हिस्सा है स्टेम का बेसिकली बढ़ा तो ये भी हाइट ही रहा है, but it's actually working in a different way. This is how it's helping to increase the height of the plant. Then next hormone, again not mentioned in NCRT, is ethylene. Ethylene is a hormone which helps in fruit ripening. It helps the fruits to get ripe. Single line function, very basic, everyone can remember. Afterwards, abscisic acid. Abscisic acid is known as an antagonistic hormone. Antagonistic means, if I write it in Hindi, it means sab kaam ulte. Everything the opposite. It prevents growth. ठीक है? It prevents germination of seed. It causes leaf fall. Leaves गिरा देता है plant की. So abscisic acid is going to do everything the opposite of what the other hormones were doing. Everything opposite. The last one that we have to do is cytokinin. Name would be easy enough to understand the meaning of this. Cyto means cell, kinin means division. Cytokinin helps in cell division. It promotes cell division inside plants. So this is the prime and only role that is played by cytokinin. That is what you have to remember right now, nothing more than this. It has a number of other roles, but this is what you have to remember about it. So, overview of the hormone cytokinin inducing cell division inside plants. Abscisic acid, an antagonistic hormone playing opposite roles, reducing growth, preventing germination, causing leaf fall. Ethylene, important for fruit maturation. Auxin, causing apical growth. Gibberellin, internodal growth. Roles of the hormones clear. After that, we have different types of movements. Phototropism, response to light. Geotropism, response to gravity. Hydrotropism, response to water. Chemotropism, response to chemicals. Difference between tropic and nastic movements. Tropic movements in which direction is to be considered, as we just saw. Nastic movements in which direction is not to be considered. Then stimulus invokes a response always. This is how plants communicate. Plants have an electrochemical mode of transmission. They communicate by changing the amount of water present inside the cells. You can just remember this point as it is something mentioned in NCRT. Example given for Mimosa pudica, just to show how plants communicate, a stimulus response kind of an example. So this was about control and coordination in plants, and I hope you all understood it well. Doubts are more than welcome. Now after this class, we'll be stepping into the last part for this chapter, and that's hormonal communication in animals. So we have to study hormones in animals and their responses, roles, deficiencies, diseases caused by the lack of those hormones or excess of those hormones. So you all just stay tuned and revise whatever we have done in this class. It's going to help you a lot. So take care everyone. Bye. See you later.